application in the yeah, using the machine learning, deep learning, and his research interest is the industrial fault diagnosis and some other field, okay, related to the prediction and detection using the deep learning, okay. So that was my research too when I was in PhD student. Still, I'm trying to continue the work in that field. I hope today's session will be very helpful for you guys. Okay, so I want to invite Hassan to continue the session. Okay, yeah, thank you. Please unmute your
Sure, sure,
microphone.
sure. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Professor, for your nice introduction, and nice to meet you all. And actually, Professor was my supervisor when I was in my undergraduate back in our country. So initially, I mean, before starting the session, I want to tell something. Like before I start understanding the research and these things, I used to do a lot of things. So the problem was I did not have any guidance that moment. So suddenly professor came into our university, maybe like you guys, you people got professor like maybe for around a year. So I also got professor like that time period. So like that way he guided me through. So yeah, I overcame, and at the end of the day, like he also helped me to come to this position right now where I am doing my PhD because of him. He guided me continuously, even every now and then when I feel any problem, I feel free to talk to him, take his suggestion. So thank you, Professor, for inviting me and giving me this opportunity. So I was working with this after joining to my laboratory. I was started working on different topics, but one thing actually caught my attention, that is like data science, data analytics. Uh, Hands-on experience is good, and I think most of the guys whoever watching this session, more or less, you guys know about how these things going to work and how these things uh, uh, is effective into the industry.
Yeah, Jonah, actually, they, they most of them. Okay, this class is the technology. Most of the students are from the technology department. They
Okay.
have the programming knowledge as well as they,
Okay.
at the same time, this semester, they are also taking the machine learning course. I hope they
Okay.
will understand what you will say. Okay.
Oh, okay. So uh, as I am trying to understand these topics of machine learning from last actively last 2.5 years. So I did lot of online courses, I did lot of practical classes. But one thing is my suggestion to all of you is uh, don't just jump into all the programming at the very initial stage. Try to understand the stepwise thing. That's how we can like go into the essence, like why we need that. So my goal is simply introducing this thing throughout a journey where anyone can try to understand how this thing works on with a very simple story. So today's session, I am highlighting the point called the importance of feature engineering for forecasting or prediction. So right now I am a PhD scholar continuing my PhD in Tools and Industrial Artificial Intelligence Laboratory, the same laboratory as our professor completed his PhD. And thanks to the Woosong University and Endicott College, and also of course my supervisor always and my professor Jialdin sir, so for giving me this opportunity. So today's session, I want to divide into three parts. First part is sort of a story time I will tell. So what sort of story I want to tell? Like the importance of having a good data set, and from a data set, how can we get the meaningful information for our next analysis. And the third is the importance of visualization to understand the behavior of the data set, because as a human being, we always are very curious about to see things. Suppose if we have pain, we can feel, but if we have some marks on our body, suppose we were running a bicycle and we fall down from it, so actually that is more visible to us. So the human brain thinking abilities, they want to see, to make it remember every time, to make it some visual understanding to themselves. So for this thing, the importance of visualization is necessary, not only to the human but also to the data, because to the machine, to the artificial intelligence, our goal is always to give the machine such kind of ability to think or to act like a human being. Though we are not that much closer to that, but still I believe, like till now, maybe the total innovation of the world is capable for more than 60% of that thing. So we are waiting for the rest 40% to come up with. After finishing the first session, we want to go for the second portion. That would be like what we understood from the story. We will try to analyze those things little bit, but I will not go with a very uh, uh, heavyweight id, I mean, by using which softwares we will do the coding and those things. I will use simply Jupyter Notebook. I think most of the guys, you know what is Jupyter Notebook, but still I will start from the scratch. The benefit of using this notebook, and some practical example I will do by taking some data from the internet, of course. And thank you, Professor, for uploading the data set for the students. And as well as I will share my GitHub profile link, so that you anyone can download the thing. And for the third session, so second session will not do any sort of classification or forecasting or prediction, nothing will do. We'll see how we can extract the information from the data and how we can handle this type of data, and what is the essence of this thing to capture the features from the data. And in the third part, after capturing the features from the data set, what we'll do, we'll try to predict the based on our data set. So that means basically we will take some example today that will help us to predict the future from this data set. But into the machine learning applications, most of the time we have two basic parts. One is forecasting or prediction, another one is classification. But for whatever we want to do, actually till feature engineering part, for every case it is very same and it is very important. So the story time, as I told, so I want to share my story actually, not too much very hard things. So I already told in a with the conversation with our professor how I started, but still I want to tell something. Back in 2015, I was a third year student in my university. So that moment, what happened is we all the friends were separated into two parts basically. One part was sort of okay, they want to do some projects or something, and another part they wanted to do some thesis. Okay, so suppose these clusters into the picture, we see those who are all together giving high five and thinking, these people wanted to do projects, and other people, those who are like, oh, stood in the lonely vibe, those are wanting, suppose they wanted to do the research at my time, and I was also belonging from those group. So after that, what happened, as I told, thesis or project time, they appeared, and then these group of students, they wanted to do thesis, they did not wanted to do the project. Okay, So after that, what happened? We had several supervisors. Like in your university, you have a lot of professors, like Dr. Jiauddin, or maybe some other professors. So in our university also, we had a lot of professors. But as I liked uh, that moment, our professor, so I actually went to him and enrolled my thesis under his supervision. So some group of people actually went to different professors, right? So they had several I mean, they have several groups. Suppose among those students, 8 groups actually came to our supervisor, Professor Jiauddin. So after coming to professor, what they started to do? They started to do the thesis. They started to do the research. So I was also from this group, one of them, their group, one of this 8 group. So the group under the supervision of professor. So then the study continued. So lot of groups are there. Our group, we also started studying about our research, what to do, what not to do. One thing I want to tell, that is at that moment, what happened, I or our group mates had no say idea what to do. We did not know anything about research. So I remember initial days, professor asked us, okay, these are some topics, search something into the internet, download something, download those things, try to capture some information from there, what you guys understand, try to jot down those notes and this kind of thing. So our group mates, we tried that type of thing. I believe that moment other groups as well did the same type of activities. So as I am talking about my group story, so I am keeping my group in a focus. So suppose we had these 5 groups, A, B, C, D, E. So our group was A, and what happened? Every group tried, but which I believed like maybe we did a very something very good. I don't know. Professor knows very well, so maybe something caught his attention that moment. So our group kind of owned the battle. It means we became did not become first, but what happened, like we thought we got some sort of extra care from professor than the other groups. He was I mean uh, showing the same caring for every group, but as we are going too much giving too much time to our professor, so he always was giving us continuous feedback and everything. So among these 5 groups, suppose our group own, okay, so now just forget about the other 4 groups. We had our group only. So these are our group. We had suppose 5 members. Sorry, in reality, I had actually 4 members in our group, but in the picture it's all like we have 5 members in the group. So now the problem started to arise at that time. What type of problem? I think the students who are now studying, if you want to do the group project, this thing always happens. Who contributes most, who contribute less, this kind of dilemma is always there. And if your bonding is not that much too good, then the problem happened is sometimes someone will go to professor, tell, okay, professor, that person is not working. Sometimes you have sort of headache, what to do. So we were 5 members, LMNOP. So what happened? Maybe based on our self interaction, our professor understood, okay, maybe P and N were the best ones from this group who devoted most of their times to build the full research work. Though these 5 people compiled the full project, I mean, we took the thesis actually, not project, sorry. So we finished the whole project, but after completing the whole project, professor suggested us like, okay, Junaid, one time he told me, uh, try to prepare some research paper. So that moment I was thinking, okay, how to do this research paper, because 5 guys were there, and at that moment I was a student. I never knew about the research paper, so that caught my attention, and I was thinking to myself like how to cope up with these people. Suppose this N was me, okay, though I'm very bulky in real life, but I did not get that type of cartoon to show my belly and stomach, this type of thing. But one very funny thing is, I was thinking like what to do because I did all the codes and everything. Our friends are very cooperative, and I also did not want to hurt them. So I went to them and told them like, look, I did this whole work, and I also took the help from that person P. So maybe we guys can make a paper together, and you guys take the thesis credit and take the grade from professor. I don't have problem. So they also agreed at that point. But because they were our friend. But just think in the real scenario, these 5, 6 will do the fight. So how we can come up with a solution who is best among them, and they should do this type of activities of writing a research paper. So that time a professor came, and professor said to us, okay, N and P, I think the best candidates to do the research paper, because in a research paper, if we keep all the people, it will be very difficult for me. So thesis is completed. Professor gave them good grades. They were happy, and we too came outside and started to writing research paper based on our thesis. So we started writing the research paper. Okay. So what happened then? We were very new to write the research paper, right? So we wrote the research paper, just sent to our professor, a beloved professor. So every time we wrote the research paper draft, and it was not, I mean, it was nothing actually, because I barely know writing at that moment. Still I struggle to write something, and even I feel still I take suggestion from a professor, uh, and he never failed me, never made me disappointed. He always gave me the feedback. So this process, like, we are writing research paper, we are sending this to professor, and professor is sending the update to me. And one time I remember, it was, I think, at night, 2 a.m., and professor actually printed out my research paper and came outside and corrected the sentences, everything. And fortunately, I was very lucky because I was living very close to a professor. So he one time called me after coming from office, and he also had to prepare for the university on the next day. So he came to me and said, Junaid, please take this research paper. I actually corrected by my hand. So please check and try to improve. So that's how, till my research paper uh, uh, become a very polished one, or become a very much good one, or become a very much acceptable one. Professor did this thing maybe lot of time. We did not know that time, but how did I signifies it? I signifies it in this way: till my performance gets better, professor always try to make us feedback. Based on the feedback, we try to improve our research paper. So what happened at the end? We submitted the research paper to a conference back in that time into USA. That paper got accepted, but somehow we could not manage to get there. But end of it, we submitted to some local conference. It was very good, and at that moment, this paper got the best paper award, and that was our supervisor, my professor, your professor, Dr. Jiauddin. That was me back in 2016, I believe, yeah. And that was our honorable VC sir, vice chancellor sir, at that moment into our university, and he personally invited me, along with Dr. Jiauddin, professor, and he personally congratulated us to encourage us for doing something good. So this was my story, but I had the intention to tell, intention behind to tell all of these stories. So I'll proceed into that thing now. uh, so what we have learned so far from this story, can anybody understood anything, like why did I tell? I want to listen some response from you. Anyone voluntarily tell me anything? So this story we told, I told you, right? So I came from that position to here. So Did you understand anything from the story? What you guys think about the story? Is it inspiring you to do some research or do something good? Can anyone voluntarily contact me, please?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
if someone can help you and guide you, I
Mhm.
mean, like if you have some professor to help you, you can achieve something. I
Yeah.
understood that.
Yeah. And any other thing? Okay. Okay. So do you guys read books? I mean, storybooks or novels, do you guys sometimes study these things if you have time? I know in Korea it's difficult, but back in your country, did you ever study books, storybooks or something?
No, not at all.
It's fine. Okay. So the purpose of this thing was, now I will tell something, you guys will see. So this is the thing. At the initially, I told a lot of students were there. So
Vinay,
yeah, yeah,
and there are some Korean student, okay? So
okay.
majority maybe the foreigner. Wegek and Hanguk, both salami is available in the.
Yeah, so I cannot speak in Korean that much. Sorry.
Yes,
Uh, Korea is really a nice country, and thanks for the opportunity to Korea, uh, because they are providing us very good support. Even for me, a very good environment, a very good country. Thanks a lot again.
Okay, okay, please continue.
Okay, thank you, Professor. So, as initially I told, there are a lot of students. So, this thing statistically, we can tell these are the population. Okay. So, what is population now? That's the question. All the data. Okay. Remember one thing. Whenever you come into the data science, think everything as a data. A human being is a data, your cell phone is a data, your computer is a data, I am talking, this is a data, everything is a data. So whatever students we were there, those are all the students who were back in 2015 third year student. Those people wanted to do thesis or project. Okay. So by default, we can tell they are all our data. We can assume, right? So if they are all our data, statistically, we can tell them as samples, all the samples, okay? Now, no, those are populations, sorry. And now the marking portion I did here, right? So blue color mark, you can see into the slide. So this portion I previously mentioned were very much interested to do the thesis work, not the project work, right? So this portion we can tell as some samples. But I want to tell one more thing. So in short, we can tell one thing. From population, if you take some samples from it, extract something from it, from these are the whole people, right? So you just take these blue color circle mark people outside of it. So those are your samples, okay? But here one very good thing. These samples have one commonality. Can you guys tell me what is this commonality between among these samples? Can anyone tell me, please? These are actually, I'm telling, these are actually, these people are interested very much to do the thesis work, right? And other guys were interested to do the project work. So these guys, we can also tell these guys as our stratified samples. So one thing we told, from all the population, if we pick randomly some human being from there, some students from there, those will be treated as samples. But when these samples have some significance into their commonalities, means they have same interest, right? Here, from all the students, we pick these blue colored people, right? all students. So but these students had these commonalities. They wanted to do the thesis work under some supervisors. They wanted to go for the same goal. They wanted to go for some supervisors. So in that regard, those things can be also called as stratified samples. So right now, stratified samples, we don't need to talk about much. You can forget it also if you think it is very difficult. Just think in this way. All the students were the data, the population, and from them, we are now considering only some of them, those who are interested for doing the thesis work. Or so those guys we are calling as our samples. Okay. So now the thing, those samples we consider, and on our story, previously I told this thing, our group and other groups, those 5 groups were doing, analyzing the research work as professor suggested us. So those are those A, B, C, D, and E. And what we were doing that time. So when our professor came to our university, he told us, okay, to 5 groups, he did research on several things. Suppose he told us, I did research on image processing, I did research on natural language processing, I did research on signal processing. So I have those experiences, those that thing professor told us. And based on his experiences, he suggested us pick some topic and try to analyze by yourself. So what he did, he gave us some guidelines. So then what we did, our group was A, other group was B, other group was C, other group was D, and E, so on. So all the groups actually picked one certain topic, and they started to collect all the information. As I mentioned into my story, we were trying to search the Google that moment, trying to finding out how to do the research and this kind of things. So that moment, actually, we understood how to do the research and those things. But we were looking for some certain domain. Suppose professor told me, Junaid, just go and search for image processing. So image processing was our domain that moment. Okay. So this A group were doing the research based on image processing. Maybe my friend B, that friends were in the B group, they were doing for some signal processing thing. So this type of thing. So as in the story I told, our group win. So you can see from this picture, that is in this way, the group A or doing the research from on the image processing, and they own the battle, right, than the other groups. So one very little hint from here I can give you for the perspective of data analytics, that is, suppose you are analyzing some data, you are analyzing the data based on your different perspectives. Means sometimes you go to the shop, you purchase the ramen, right, when you are hungry. Most of the time in the Korea, even as I am also a student still now, I have to go to the shop, I purchase ramen. So sometimes some people uh, prefer the ramen with a lot of cheese. Some people prefer the ramen with a lot of spices. Some people prefer the ramen which is very sweet. Some ramen contains water. Some ramen does not contain water. So if you, some of guys, go to the shop and try to find out the taste of ramen, how will you judge the taste of ramen? First, you have to group them. How? Some ramen is very good and they have cheese with them. Maybe those are A because I like cheese. So that's why I told. Some ramen with water, those things you tell B group. Some ramen with maybe very spicy, those you can tell C group. And other ramens as well are here, D and E. So these are ramen group. So now you analyze the cheese ramen group, you analyze the maybe water ramen group, the spicy ramen group, the sweetest ramen group. And from those groups, you find out like, okay, cheese ramen group is very tasty by overall taste. Okay, so that means you now only consider the cheese group, right? So that we call as domain-based analysis. So we'll go into the practical example. That time we'll understand more about this thing. And other thing which I told, sometimes some group you don't need. So that is, suppose while we are doing the thesis work, some group were unable to submit anything at all. So those group will not be qualified for the final defense. That is of course, because if professor ask you guys to submit some report, you guys try to make, but if any group is did not give anything and do not give anything at all, that moment that group will be disqualified. Here also the very similar thing. Suppose this E group ramen or E group students did not do anything, so professor said, okay, please do not come to my office anymore, I'm very angry with you. But professor is not like that. This is for example purpose. So we actually remove that group. So when we remove that group, that means we are removing the unnecessary things from our sample data, right? So we are telling this thing is cleaning the data. Okay, this is the term, cleaning the data, data cleaning. This is very important for data analytics. So after cleaning the data, we also know which group is very significant into this data. So among the five group, we remove the data E, group E, and also we know the most significant group is A, okay? So we kept the A that I told my thesis group, right? That means the information of group A, okay? So suppose into the photo you see the red, green, blue, and uh, red, green, blue, and yellow. Yeah, these four colors. So you can think this four color is the major information from that A group. Okay. So those A group information means those are the members of the group you may tell. Those are the information of the group you may tell, and those A represents by those four color or those these five people, right? But we want to know among these five people who are very much important. So professor decided that time I told you these A and P are very important. So what professor is doing here, he is picking who is the most important person in this group. So he is selecting the best one. So in data science, we call it feature selection, best feature selection. You can think in this way, right? And after that, after selecting the best ones, what we have to do? We have to evaluate that two persons performance. So as I mentioned in our story, we wrote the paper, this two person always sending to professor. Professor was giving us the feedback every time. So professor and his feedback was working like an algorithm for us, because we two person was the best features, the best candidates, and we were trying to prove ourselves to professor. But what professor was doing, he was giving us the feedback always, and we are sending again to him. So our output we are sending to professor. Professor is judging our output and sending back to us. So this is the feedback system. So you can think it as an intelligent algorithm system where after selecting the best feature, you want to know my feature can predict the data or not, my feature can classify data or not. So you give to the algorithm, you can think this algorithm is our professor, and every time the algorithm will tell you like, okay, no, this feature is good, okay, but there's something should improve, right? There's something should improve into the algorithm, into the process, not into the algorithm. So this whole scenario we can think as the evolutionary scenario, okay? So uh, but telling the story had an intent, I had an intention. So the intention was to give you guys a little bit overview how this thing worked on, how this thing. I did not wanted to give some
Okay,
hardcore example.
okay.
Yes.
It's very impressive. When like my student, I was also confused. Why you want to use these all these things as a story? Okay, now I can realize. Okay, Akubir, can you summarize what about the findings with respect to the considering the data in the data science with this scenario? How many steps, okay, in the data science, how the data science work, how many fields or component associated with the data analytics? Yes.
Sorry, Professor, should I say what I think about it, or should I think my ideas
from
about what
from
the...
from this example, he try what he want to do. He tried to introduce the different component associated with
Yeah,
the
yeah,
data science with his experience. Okay, all right.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Can you summarize what about the findings? For example, what is data, and then data to outputs. Okay, can you
So,
summarize?
as we were told about the story, in the story, the Hassan was talking about like the data science, about he introduced us like the few terms about like a data science, like data cleaning, like
Yeah,
organizing it,
data,
how...
all everything in the world he introduced as a data. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah, but like the interesting part was that is it came as a story
Mm-hmm.
about his own life, but like turned into the data science example.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I think like it's really good because as you know, after second year, so for us, for my year student, for spring year student, we should choose our like path.
Yeah.
Either we should go software engineering or data science. So as the this we were explained, we can now understand even more how the data science work, I guess. And also, what was your question, Professor? I couldn't
Yeah.
understand.
So in the data science, okay, how many components? For example, I think now you have idea of the data cleaning.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
you already know the feature selection. How? What do you mean by feature selection in the?
So I guess the first of all, as the Hassan said, I guess our first step is finding our data set, the
Yes.
best like data set that like suits us the best. For example, imagine our topic is fault diagnosis about air cons. What sound shows that they have a fault, right? We cannot choose the air hair dryers sounds, right? Because this data set is not like appropriate for our case. We should choose some data set that's related with the sounds from the air con. So we should choose perfectly. And also the another case, I think we should choose the data set that has at least amount of noise, if possible, like trash, like how to say it, unnecessary data, and like it should be appropriate for our case. The second case, I guess, there will be sorting the data. So we should clean data. If our data is already processed, we don't have to do any algorithms for like noise deleting the noise, or like a cleaning from the unnecessary information, or even shortening the data so that we don't have to work with a big amount of data, so that we can make a small samples, as we worked in for example, the MATLAB with your case. So the data, we should divide it into the like a samples. For example, in a first of all 2D versions. As we know, the sounds, it's like in the 2D versions. But later on, as we process the data, we should take it as a like a binary, like a only 1D version, so that the machine, we can feed it to the machine learning. So sorting. The next step, I think, would be the pre-processing the data. So in this case, we will use one algorithm. Like for example, in my case, as we're doing sign language, we will use like kind of algorithm for like neural network. We are using CNN. So in that case, in neural network case, our data, like we already like ready data we did, like 1D data, we feed it to our module algorithm. So with the help of that algorithm, it goes through the layers. So hidden, like as we choose the filter and we feed it through the layers, and so it starts extracting the features. For example, how to say feature? For example, like For example, if you say in case of face recognition, for example, how is the person's shape faced, how their lips shaped, or like how their nose is like located, like this kind of
Do,
features.
do you think the all features are the good features?
No, because like some features can be the similar with other people. So the most important thing should be the feature should be the unique for each case. So
This,
that can explain. For example, let's say uh, huh, eyes. Eyes can be the unique for everyone. So we can say we can work with their eyes feature, or like shape of their face. And the another case is thumbnail could be every line in your like a fingerprint is like unique. So this kind of features we extract it. So after extracting, we get the ready data, trained data, which we already trained with algorithm. Then next step is just doing our code and giving the trained data so that our machine is trained based on that data. So the last step,
what about the feedback? Okay, so he explained the feedback.
I think it also depends on which kind of process we're using. For example, which kind of learning, supervised, unsupervised, or like reinforced learning. Uh, in the feedback case, it's unsupervised learning because the machine learns by the feedback or like a kind of, like for example, how do you say? You give it like a good stuff. If it like predicts correctly, you give it like a candy, let's say. But if you cannot predict correctly, you will take it away his candy, like the machine's kind of stuff. So
Okay.
it's like that. Feedback.
Finally, you will reach the output. Okay, you will get the
Yeah.
output.
Now when you're ready with the output and like you already trained data, now you can do the real-time recognition. For example, now you get your software, you put the like a voice you taken from your AC in real time, and it tells you, does it have fault or no?
So I want to hear from other guys too. Who want to add more? Jalal?
Yes,
Yes.
Professor.
Do you want to add something about this story?
About the story.
Yes, story in our data science. Okay. So what is the interesting part of here? What is the new thing you have learned from this story?
Actually, as he mentioned it, he write lots of times his research paper, and uh, he you returned his papers many times with
Mhm.
feedbacks.
Training. This is called the training. Okay.
Yes,
In data
training.
science is called the training. Okay, training.
And according to feedbacks,
Mhm.
he improved his paper, and finally he were able to write a good, acceptable research paper.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Okay. Vanessa, are you there? Vanessa,
Yes, Professor, I'm here.
going to add something here? Did you get any new information from this story?
Everything was very interesting, but I think everyone already said everything
Mhm.
basically.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't know what to add.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, Junaid. We can take a how many 20 minutes break.
Okay,
See you to
Professor.
10. Okay, to
Oh, okay, Professor. Thank you.
bye.
Mm,
Please share your screen.
yes. Yes. Is the screen visible?
Yes.
Okay. So, as in the last session, we understood about the nature of the necessity of the data and why we need to clean it. So, as I mentioned into the presentation, we will talk about now uh, about some data analysis, and we will see how to do this thing. by using Jupyter Notebook. So my thing is, I also shared some links into the chat box. So already professor uploaded the code, and but in future, if you want to use some of the projects for understanding purpose, you can also browse those and try by yours. Those are very simple projects, not very tough one. And I will also don't go into that much tougher one right now. I will try to demonstrate very simple projects. Okay, so before that, I want to ask something to all of you. Do you guys have any experience with using a Jupyter Notebook or IPython Notebook? Anyone have experience among the students?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I mean, regular basis you use this Jupyter Notebook
Yeah, I
every day?
use I use regular basis.
Okay, that's good. What about the other guys? You guys are familiar with it?
Yes.
Yes, Professor.
Okay. Okay, so that means like I don't need to install it from the scratch, or I can skip that part. So uh, before opening to the going to the Jupyter Notebook, very simply, I will introduce about the data set. So these data set I considered from Kaggle. Kaggle is a website where you guys can find out a lot of data, and they host some competition to uh, everyone. It is open, they can go and they can check. So I will also show you the website. If you guys did not visit this website, this is very good practice to go to this website, then just sign in over here. I forget my sign in details. Okay, I need to check, but anyways, so suppose Kaggle Titanic. Okay, so if you search Kaggle Titanic, what will happen? You'll see here, this is the Titanic data set. Okay, so this is a little bit very depth walk through these data set Titanic. Today will not go into this Titanic data set, but those guys already used the Jupyter Notebook, or if you guys are interested to do that, as your background is from IT, so you can do this thing. And from here you can see like best submission, those people who worked on this data set, you can see their code into the Kaggle. So try to visit Kaggle frequently, because to understand, not to understand the algorithms, but to understand the I mean behavior of different features, how they analyze the features. This website is very helpful. Okay, for your future you can use this one. Anyways, so the data set I took, this is like uh, a car data set actually. So in one column it is given the name of the cars, another column the year, and the C column we have the selling price, present price, how much kilometers it has been driven, fuel type, petrol or diesel, seller type, who sold the car, dealer or individuals, and the transmission system, automatic gear or manual gear. And these are actually second-hand cars, some are new cars. So one means this car previously owned by one person, zero means this car previously never owned by anyone, so this is new. So this is the nature of the data. So we will try to predict the price of the car based on this data. Okay, so by Excel we can see, because this is a .csv file. CSV means comma separated file. So and the CSV usually when we do very simple analysis, those data sets are mostly kept into the CSV format. One suggestion to you guys, if you suppose pre-process some data by MATLAB, believe you guys know, you analyze some features from there. Suppose professor gave you some signals or some image, you guys take some features from it. Features means you want to see some statistical things, suppose how much is the mean of the data or median of the data, this type of thing. So those feature you analyze from the MATLAB. Okay, then do one thing. Then you create a CSV file. Okay, so suppose you can give a name like mean or median like this, and then you copy paste all the values from your MATLAB into this CSV file. So why I'm telling this thing, because if you just copy paste it into your CSV file, then one thing will be very good. You can use this simple architecture to analyze the data, or to see the feature space of this data in a very simple way, rather than doing very much advanced coding. Advanced coding is of course good, but before jumping into too much code, first thing we need to understand how these feature values are going from here to there, and how they are affecting our data set, how they can describe our data in a proper way. So without further ado, I'm trying to start. So you guys, if you guys use Anaconda distribution, from here you can launch the Jupyter notebook, but I just installed the Anaconda. I don't personally use Anaconda Navigator for my regular Go. I separately installed the Jupyter notebook, but there is a very shortcut technique, that is, suppose my I want to do the programming into this folder. Okay, this project car price folder I created into my desktop. So in this folder, I kept the data set car data.csv. So from here, if I press shift into the Windows, maybe for Mac, I don't know, command control, maybe shift alter, I believe control. So that is there, and then click the PowerShell window for Windows PC, and then you can write this command Jupyter notebook. So this will open the Jupyter notebook in for this folder. Okay, so the Jupyter notebook is opened now. So
Join. Little
uh,
bit slow, okay?
oh, okay, okay, sorry. Okay, so yeah, so that's how we open the Jupyter notebook. But Jupyter notebook opening in this way, what is the advantage? The advantage is, uh, yeah, the folder architecture we saw, we had three files here: card data.csv, card details from card deco.csv, and card price prediction.ipython. So as we opened into this folder, the Jupyter notebook, we can see this link is automatically generated, and here we can see the files of the folders inside of it. Okay, so now we can, if we want to do code, how we can do, we are willing to do the code in Python 3. So you can click into Python 3, and we can give here the file name, suppose our test project. So now from here we can run the code, and then we can execute the thing. So I will not write the code from the very beginning. We already provided the source code, and you guys also have that one, as professor uploaded already. So you can navigate through the folder and open this file name car price prediction.ipynb, this file. If I click it, this will open. So okay, and also one more suggestion, that is, I provided the GitHub link to the chat box. So suppose I go to the GitHub here, and if I browse here, so GitHub is the sort of online repository where you guys, it is kind of a Google Drive, you may say, sort of online. So here you can keep your codes available for anybody, or you can keep to yourself as well. So this code is open, I kept it open. So you go here, and here also the same file we saw here, right? ipipe.np, it is also uploaded into the online. So
Share your link in the chat.
yeah, yes, Professor, I already shared.
It's already
And
shared.
yeah, I already shared the link. Yes.
Here in the chat.
Yeah. So why I opened this link, because sometimes into the online, when you browse this type of codes, you may see this notebook loaded very nicely, but sometimes you see this notebook has issue with loading and this type of thing. So in that case, what you can do, you can go to this website, uh, uh, nbviewer.jupyter.org, this website, link already given into the code as well, our code, this link, uh, and then you have to just paste your GitHub link into here. So suppose again I'm browsing here, price prediction. Yes, this is the online link. Suppose our browser failed to load this notebook. Okay, so then just copy this link and paste it here. Okay, and if you press go, you will see the notebook will be loaded very perfectly. So if anybody has any trouble to load this notebook into online, then you can load in this way. Also, I have provided the link because if someone cannot now use the computer to open your Jupyter notebook, or you don't have the Anaconda or Jupyter notebook installed in your computer, then also you can go to the link I have provided into the chat section and then check the code. So when I explain, you can go with it. Okay, so I am starting the thing. This data set I have taken from Kaggle. As I already told, I have also provided the link and with the code, because this data set is not mine. So you by yourself can go to this dataset link and you by yourself can download the dataset. Also, I tried to analyze the data in a very simpler way for this session purpose, but lot of people did lot of advanced analysis into this. If you go to this link, you can see, if you click onto the notebook, so you can study as well. So first thing is we have to read the data. Okay, so in our folder we had desktop, just wait a moment. Yes, so these data previously we opened into um, Excel. So these data now we have to read into our Jupyter notebook, like those people who did not work with Jupyter notebook. Maybe you guys work with Spider or Visual Studio or Visual Code, any IDE, that is fine. The very same thing here, but here best part is we can write the comments like a notebook or like a doc file, like that way. So for data reading, as we know, we need the library pandas PD, because pandas, and with the pandas we can read the CSV in a very faster way. But most of the analysis case we see people use panda. Without panda also you can read the .csv file with the numpy as well as you can take. But with the panda it is very convenient to read, because with one line we can just read the data. So that's it, we will read the data and we want to see the first 6 column of the data. Okay, so okay, just let me comment it out and then we can see. So we read the data. Okay, And then if we want to show our data, I mean, like the Excel, we see the data here. So we want to visualize the data into this panel. So we can insert and cell below. Here we put the cell, and then we can give visualize. Visualize means not the graphical way, it's a tabular way. Table, like the uh, Excel file, we can visualize by doing this code. So if we don't give 6, what will happen? df dot head. Head means the top of the data, right? So from 0 to 4 index, they will show us here. So suppose anyone wants us to show them the first 10 row of the data. So how to do that? The first 10 row I told. So df.head 10. If we run that, execute that, then the first 10 row will be visible into the panel. This is the output panel, input panel, and corresponding to input panel is the output panel. Okay.
If they
Again,
if someone want to bring the all data, what should they do?
uh, professor, then df, I believe it is just df. Yes, this is just df, because df is my variable. So we store the data over here, and then it will all come. But here is the problem with the Jupyter notebook. Actually, like the spider, we have a panel like MATLAB. So there we can see all kind of data, all the 300 rows we can browse. But
Yes.
with this thing, we cannot do that. This is a disadvantage. But there are some extension into the advanced scenario. If we go, we can see those extension, and with those extension we can see. However, most of the time, actually, as people do the statistical analysis, so they usually don't visualize all the data over here. Based on statistics into this notebook, they want to understand the data. That was the goal, actually. So also, if anyone wants to see the maybe tail, let me see. Uh, Yes. So head is the top 6 and tail is the top 5, and tail means the bottom 5 of the data, last 5 index of the data. So like that we can see the tail as well and head as well. So the purpose of this type of tabular visualization is to get an idea how many columns into the data are there and what type of column they are without opening into the Excel. But as the small type of data, when we analyze in this way, most of the time those data we can open by the Microsoft Excel. But just for the sake purpose to recheck and this kind of thing, we may visualize the table over here. Now, uh, we want to know how many rows and how many columns are into the data. So that the shape of the data, actually. So that to understand the shape of the data, we simply will write the df.shape command. So df is our variable. If we, as you guys are already familiar with programming, I don't need to explain that much, but very simpler way, df.shape command. So if we write it, we can get like the how much, but 301, this is the row and 9 is the column. Okay, so now we have to see the data set, and we have to understand into the data set what are our categorical features and what are the non-categorical features. So what does it mean by categorical features and non-categorical features? Category can be defined as a word. Like our previous story, we told among all the students, some students wanted to do thesis, some students wanted to do project, right? So this is their category. One category is project, one category is thesis, not any continuous value. But non-categorical should have some discrete values in it. Suppose when our professor evaluated our performance, he gave us some marks. So those marks had some number. In here, with the card data set, we can see it has selling price, it has some value, someone has some value, different value. So these are our non-categorical features. So when we analyze the data, we have to first identify which are the categorical features and which are the non-categorical features by visualizing the table, and from this table we can see clearly which are the categorical features and which are the non-categorical features. So this input 7 panel we wrote the categorical features here are fuel type, seller type, transmission and owner. So let's validate it. Fuel type, seller type, transmission, and owner. Okay. Owner 0 or 1. So owner has two possibilities. These cars previously somebody owned, or this car nobody ever owned. It is brand new. So this is also a category. So category can be presented as numbers. Suppose if I gave one more example in the last session for ramen, when we go to the shop and purchase ramen, there are a lot of ramens, lot type of ramen, right? So some ramen has cheese, maybe this is category 1. Some ramen has very much chili, that is category 2. Some ramen is sweet, that is category 3. Some ramen has more water, contains more water, that is category 4. So these four category we can also present by some numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever we want to express, those we can do. So in this data set, the transmission case, they actually put the category in this way, manual or automatic. But ownership case, they did not write the thing. I own or did not own, this type of thing. They did not wrote into the data set. Instead of that, they just wrote 0 or 1. So why? This is also a thing. In the data set, they actually organize the data in such a way so that when we as a data data scientist want to explore the data, that moment we don't have that much hassle to organize the data. What we have to do, we have to analyze based on the formatted data set, right? But if somebody wants to deal with the data directly, as a data engineer, if anyone wants to work, so in that case they have to collect the data by themselves, and then they have to format the data in such a way so that the data scientist can explore the data in a better way. So most of the data set which you will find into the internet for this house price prediction, or maybe car price prediction, or maybe home price prediction, those data sets are organized in such a way we can analyze it in an easier manner. But in real world, if you go, this thing is not always like that. What data engineers will do, they will collect the data somehow, validate the data while collection process, and then they will store this into, maybe here we can see CSV, maybe they will store into some database. And what that time the data scientists have to do, they have to collect those data from the database, and then they have to analyze those things. But in the analysis case also, if it is not an image, then this type of data set you can easily uh, analyze into Jupyter notebook. So now other thing is, okay, so this column seller type, we know seller type, we can see into from this data set, this is dealer, but there might be other seller type, maybe here not dealer, maybe some other type of seller might be there, right? So, but as professor asked initially one very good question, like how can we visualize all the data set here? If we visualize just df, we see uh, yeah, like this way it is coming. So we can only see the first 5 row and last 5 row. So if any other sellers which is not a dealer category that appears into the data set, we don't know. So how to deal with it? So we can write in this way: data frame, as we insert this thing into the data frame, and then in curly brace you can write the column name, right? So we want to see the seller type. So we wrote the column name here, seller type and dot unique. Okay. So if we run this thing, you will see here the array is telling us how many unique type of seller type is there. Unique means distinct property. So one is dealer, one is individual. That means into this table, we can see one seller type is dealer. Other seller type we cannot see here, as this notebook cannot visualize the thing, all the thing. And also, suppose we have thousands of rows of data. So to browse all and to find out, okay, without dealer, if any other individual or something is there or not, we don't know. So with this command, we easily can like get the thing how many uh, uh, individual seller types are there. So that means seller type has two category, dealer and individual. So these two category we can tell as well 0 or 1, but we'll come to that part later. Now, and specifically we have to check this thing for the categorical features, okay? Because those things later on we will convert to 0 or 1 sometimes in other format as well. So second thing we told, transmission is also a categorical feature. So we can see here manual. So we can guess another transmission system might be automatic. But uh, nowadays there are very different maybe transmission system are there, hybrid or something. So but in the data set, is that type of thing exist or not, we don't know. So to do this thing, we can write in this way: df again that column name. So df dot the format should be like this, column name. And then unique, if we press, so then they will also tell us how many uniqueness are there into the transmission. So we have two types, two category. One is manual, automatic. We don't have any hybrid. Okay. Now, owner. One time I told initially there are two owners, right? One owned the car and one did not own the car. But is there any other owner category? There might be, we don't know, right? Uh, Based on our sense, we never treat the data. We should treat the data based on their information. So we need to check. Maybe we were very sure. I was very sure. Owner should be two type, 0 or 1. But let's check now, okay? So if we give the owner unique value, we find out no, they have three values for ownership. One is 0, one is 1, another one is 3. That means into these data there are three categories of owner. One is 0, one is 1, one is 3. Maybe instead of number in simply we can tell 0 is me and 1 is our professor, and maybe 3 is any person, any other person. So the three types of owner is there. Another thing is like yes, fuel type. Fuel type also categorical feature. Very similar way. We have to also check how many unique value is there for fuel type. So if we go to the fuel type, we can see petrol, diesel, petrol, diesel, petrol, diesel. So whichever visible to us, we can see only petrol and diesel. But is there any other fuel type car exist into our data set? We don't know. We have to understand that. So we also wrote this fuel type dot unique. Okay. So if we run this thing, then we are getting this petrol, diesel, and CNG. So yes, there is another fuel type called CNG, which is not visible here. So at the end of the thing, we know like the fuel types, how many unique value for each category have. So this thing is clear till that this portion. So yeah, right. Um, okay. Okay. Another point is as on my last example I told, is there any null value into the data set? We have to understand that. What does it mean by having null value? Null value means, suppose we have 301 rows of data, 9 columns. So selling price has some unit, right? A 3.35, 4.75, 25. Suppose when people collected the data set, they were unable to sorry, yeah, insert the selling price. Suppose it is 00. It might be happening to the data set. Okay, it might be 0, this might be 0, or there might be no information at all. Suppose when professors sometimes ask you guys to provide your ID card or ID number or attendance, sometimes you guys don't provide that, right? We when I was a student, even I am a student now, I forget sometime. So when professor prepared that data set, if he does not receive my ID or my input, so that cell will be totally blank. So that means that cell will not have any value, right? So if that cell or the column, whatever we like to tell it, have no value, that means it is a null value inside of it. Or maybe selling price takes only the double or floating values till 2 decimal points, 3.35, 4.75, like that. But someone, while I ask somebody to manage the data set for me, and they by mistake wrote something else instead of writing the floating numbers, they wrote something different, double numbers, they wrote something different, right? In totally different, they wrote maybe some word or maybe something. So in that case also, that will be treated as a non-considerable value. We have to discard that thing. So before discarding anything, we need to check, like, is there any null value in our data set? Those value does not make sense among the whole data set. Okay. So what we do here, there, we will check into all the data set and for all the columns actually, and then we run this command. And when we run this command, we see all are 0. For these data set, we are very lucky. We did not have any null value. Okay. So that means car name. So every column has some input, car name. Nobody missed any input over here. Okay. So, here, if you see the car name has 0 null value actually. Okay. Year has 0 null value. So every column actually does not contain any null value. So let's temper the data a little bit now, okay, to understand like if there is null value, our code can report it or not. So suppose I create another copy of the data set, maybe card data 2. Okay. Yeah. Let's open the data now. And here, suppose I remove this thing. and here I remove the price value. Here maybe I remove it. Okay, so here maybe I remove it. Those information, suppose I don't know those information when I listed the data set. These information were somehow missing. Previously it was there, but now somehow it was missing or tempered. Whatever happened. Okay, so now if we uh, open that Jupyter notebook, where is that? Yes. Hmm. So now again, let's create a different block here. Insert block below. No, sorry. Insert block above. Yes. Insert below. Yes. So we created a separate data set called card data 2.csv. We ran that one and already insert cell below. So if you print df, just df. So yeah, everything came. Here you see we tempered the value. We eliminate the value. Here we saw there is none, nan, not a value, not a significant value. What is there? Hey, those zero values are becoming non values. Okay, so we have to now figure it out how many non values total into this data set, right? So we will see now how. Um, yeah, insert below. Yeah. So if we now run it, yes, you see there is one null value into curve name because we tempered one value. Selling price, one null value is there. Present price. So that's how we can understood, is there any difficulties into the data set or struggling factors into the data set. So then we can eliminate those things from the data. Those columns we can eliminate, or somehow we can tackle those missing data. There are a lot of techniques into the missing data. It was not always correct to remove all the columns. Suppose if we open our that card data.to CSV file, and we thought, okay, this car name is not there, so just delete this column. No, this is not always perfect. Okay, so to handle the missing value, there are a lot of techniques. Today I will not cover those parts, but the goal was to show till that point if there is missing value or not. We have to analyze that thing. But as we have standard data set today which have all the values, so but still every time we have to reassure that thing whether they have the values or not. Okay, so let me restart the kernel. And
Junaid, I have a question.
yes,
Do
professor.
you think we need all values? For example, think
Mhm,
about the database. We
mhm,
have some primary key. Okay,
mhm,
so we're supposed to
mhm.
have all those values, but some other field,
Uh-huh,
maybe it can be the null value. So in machine learning, if
uh-huh,
we have the value null value, okay, in
uh-huh.
the secondary, or that is not the important. For example, that should not be a mandatory field. So
Yeah.
what should we do in the
Okay.
training and testing?
Uh, I mean, professor, like, not all the values sometimes we need, right? That
Yeah,
is
yeah,
your
that
question.
yes.
Yes. So that is the point of actually the feature analysis. For
Mhm.
that part, actually, we will do the feature analysis. So suppose sometimes into, let me open this thing. Um,
Hello,
uh,
student. Please follow this. Okay, this is very interesting.
yes. Yes. Suppose, professor, this is a not a categorical value. This is suppose a price value, right? So one value is missing. That means this value we can give zero. Okay. This is means that. So now if we take the mean,
Mhm.
okay, so that means this will not be fluctuated that much, right?
Mhm.
So in that case, maybe this might be a good feature, but suppose here we have some price 45,000. Okay, so this column has missing value, but this column doesn't have missing value, and somehow if we can prove this column is important for our data analysis, then if we can take some information from this column, okay, that can also help our machine learning algorithm to learn. So that is the necessity of doing the feature analysis part, actually explanatory data analysis. This
Think about, okay, we,
Mhm,
as we have the data set, okay, in our database, then you can play with it. Think about the real scenario, okay? When
mhm,
the real data will come.
mhm.
So in that case, how we can fix it? In that case, is there any online tools where they automatically detect those things and then
Ac-
recover real time,
Actually,
real time?
actually, actually, Professor, there are a separate totally research field called how to tell this, anomaly detection. Okay, so anomaly detection means which I understood from my experience, not always can handle like this missing data. Okay, and another problem during my research I observe, suppose as a lot of students are familiar with the image classification, right? So people are doing image classification. Now you came to me and suppose somebody told, okay, I have a data set where I have 20,000 cats and 20,000 dogs. Okay, they tell you. Okay, now the point is you training the algorithm with 20,000 cats and 20,000 dogs with some training and testing. Okay, but you always see your result is not coming good. Not always the problem with your algorithm or model. Okay, because in the 20,000 image there might be some data which is not belonging from cat or dog. Maybe those are tree, maybe those are human, there might be. Okay, so still now this problem exists into the data science. When lot of data are there, tons of big data are there, these type of data to justify is very difficult. I mean, there
Okay,
is
okay, listen. That means we need to do all these things before feature extraction, am I right?
exactly that these things, the broader term we call it explanatory data analysis or EDA. Okay, so feature analysis is a part of EDA, but we have to do this thing stepwise just to make the practice perfect all the time.
We
And
can call it pre-processing. Okay,
uh,
pre-processing.
yeah, sort of pre-processing stage as well, it is true,
Okay,
it is true.
okay.
And
You
yeah,
should give some time to from student such that they could ask some question.
yeah,
After now, then we will take a break.
okay,
And
okay,
then
Professor,
we
yeah,
will.
yeah.
Hello guys, if you have any question, you may ask. Okay. Mhm. Ramazun, Nodibek, ask some question. Okay, this is the practical work.
Yeah.
Do you have any question up to now?
I think I don't have questions. Like everything is clear.
Okay, okay, very clear. Okay. So yeah, that what he want to do, he want to find some abnormalities inside the data. What I understand, am I right? So if any abnormalities exist in the data set, even though if we extract the features, that will be actually not the representation of the signals or image. Okay, so therefore, we should ensure that we already have the correct data in our head. Okay, Brother Akobiri, am I right?
Yes, Professor.
Yeah. So it is very important that our data set should be the what? Accurate. Okay. If we play with the wrong data set, what I understand from the Junaid talk, that means what? We will not able to get the good result. Therefore, he is doing here. So, Joyce, do you want to say something?
Yes, Professor, I want to say something. Suppose, as Professor asked this question, so most of the time when I also started doing this data analysis and this type of thing, most of the time I saw in the tutorials online, this is the, even if you read the book also, this thing we always overlooked, we do not go into this part, that is the inferential statistics. Okay, they always talk about the statistics in the beginning. So we thought, okay, maybe when we do the feature analysis, or maybe when we do the classification, maybe if we have type A or type B, they will give us some probability, like either this photo belongs from cat or dog. So for that thing, we need a statistics. We all, even I also thought this thing for the first 1.5 year. I used to think in this way, okay. But the statistics need in a very significantly in this case. So I will not discuss about those things, but this is just an idea. So students, I believe everybody knows the probability, right? So Gaussian distribution we tell. So this is called a normal distribution, suppose, okay? So when any data we have, okay, in the nature, if anything is there, there is a probability density function, we call it PDF, okay? So what does it mean is, if we uh, try to find out all that, suppose I tell you to collect the height of all the people into the classroom, okay. So somebody tell, okay, I am 5 feet 6, somebody tell I am 5 feet 7, somebody tell I am 5 feet 10, somebody tell I am 6 feet, okay. So if you just keep those heights like this, okay, into some bar charts or maybe some histogram based analysis, then if you draw this type of line, you will get this type of distribution function. Distribution function means how the height is distributed among the people. So a very easier example might be, suppose uh, 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 one student have 2 chocolates, I have 4 chocolates, other person have 5 chocolates, another person have 6 chocolates, right? So these chocolates, how they are distributed. But suddenly if someone came and said I have only 100 chocolates, okay, so this 100 chocolates bar will be very high, right? So that time this distribution will stiff like this way, okay, this 100. But the very funny part is, uh, usually when the data is in a very proper way, okay, so in that time the distribution goes in this way this goes. But if suddenly somebody tell I have 10 feet height, okay, so how the distribution will go? Here, and then like this, and then here, okay, suppose this is intuitively I'm telling. So when this is just jumping out from the normal scenario, that means these data, these point has some problem. So this thing also we can analyze through statistics. So one suggestion to the students who wants to work for long run into the data analytics, not just running the CNN or this kind of thing, uh, please try to study the statistics part in a very better way. Specifically, not always from the university or the classrooms we can understand this everything. Why? Because the course curriculum timeline is very limited, and in a course actually the goal is to introduce everything. So into the YouTube, if you go to this channel, youtube.com, I'll also share the link with you. I go here, I personally actually find this lecture very helpful for me. Those actually these things we all learn into our schools, okay? So try to see the videos of this Khan Academy statistics video, okay? Maybe 60, 70 videos are there. Those are only 2, 3 minutes each. Uh, don't just turn on the speed and see the videos. There are 67 videos, okay, into this playlist.
Welcome to
So do not do not just watch. I mean, take time and try to understand what he is telling. And he is actually he prepared these videos for the high school students, but this is very effective for us actually. So
Okay, thank you, Junaid. We should take
yes,
15 minutes break.
yes, Professor.
You 3:20, okay?
Yeah. Okay, okay, Professor. Thank you.
Okay. Hello, guys. Okay, see you then. Bye.
See you, Professor. Thing as a data as previously from the very initial stage we were telling this thing. So 301 in total we had cars, but every car has their unique names. Maybe some might have similar name, but as we are not interested into the name of these cars, so one thing we can do from these features, we can remove the car name feature. Okay, so we'll create a new data frame and we'll drop this feature as the, so this feature is the car name feature. So this column will drop from here. So again, one more thing is not all the features are similarly important for our analysis. We have to understand what type of analysis we are going to do, and based on that thing we have to first remove some of the features or some of the values if we necessary, if it is necessary to do it. So from these features we are removing this car name features from this data set. So we remove the car name features from the data set, and the new data set right now, the first filtered data set is this one, where we have now 8 columns, not all the columns, not like 9 columns. And as the project goal is the car price prediction, right? So what is the current year right now? It's 2020. So here is one column we can see is 2014 year column. So that means if anyone wants to tell us, okay, how much old is the car, or how much age the car has, or when did the car first came into the market, or when did they put it for selling. To do this, initially as a human being, if somebody asks us what to do, I will ask you, suppose when you bought this car, so you gave me the answer, okay, 2014. So right now the year is 2020, and in that case actually we will tell, okay, that means the car is 6 years old or the car is 7 years old, right? So how to tell this thing? This thing is of course very important when we do the price prediction, how much older this thing is. So we need to create this thing. So before that, we can add an additional column. So this additional column, we can give the column name very simply like this current year, and we can assign a singular value, because we are now, all the values of this column will be 2020, 20, yeah, 2020. So yep, we did this, and you see here uh, we have added this current year. And the thing, as I told, mentioned previously, that is how much age the car have. We also need this thing, this information. So we created one more column called number of year. So very simply, if we just do this current year minus the year, then we can get the amount of year. So that is, this is how we can introduce a new feature. So that means not always from the data we should calculate the time domain feature. I mean the statistical properties, mean, median, those are statistical properties. Not necessary, not always we just need those. Sometimes we can make some type of analysis by our own as well, which is very important for certain case. So not all the case will have similar type of feature analysis, okay? But the steps will be more or less similar. The same steps we should go through every time. So now we will create a new feature and we'll add this new feature to our data. So yes, here again we created a new column actually, and that is called number of year, and here we can get these values. Now you see, previously we had year and we introduced a new thing called current year. So with these two values, we came to a conclusion number of years. So now actually our necessity of these two column are finished, year and current year. We don't need these two column because the purpose was actually to calculate how much age the car has. So we just can throw out these two column from here. So this thing I did here, drop the features, not car names actually, sorry. uh, so drop the features. So year and current year, these two I can drop right now. So if we drop these two right now, now you see we have selling price, present price, kilometer driven, fuel type, seller type, transmission owner, and number of year, the additional feature we also got. Okay. Now, one more thing is, as I told previously, categorical feature we need to understand, and what is the necessity of these things. So previously I told we need to understand how much fuel type should be there, petrol, diesel, or CNG, or seller types, how much we already calculated those things. But as you already know, when computer or the machine deals with anything, they actually deals with number, right? And when we say category, category means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Very easily we can introduce this thing with a number, because if I tell you it's a petrol or diesel or CNG, they will not understand this thing. Okay, they will tell very simple manner. They will understand, of course. In nowadays, the advanced algorithm, those they can understand, but in a basic way, if we want to tell, just think in this way, these algorithms, these machines are not that much capable right now at this moment for this data set, which can understand petrol, diesel, or these things. So to make our analysis little bit clear, we should convert this thing into number. Okay. So how to do this thing? This thing we call one-hot encoding for categorical features. Okay. So uh, with one hot encoding, we can take a whole lecture, because this is a very critical thing. But for right now, eventually we'll learn this thing throughout the go. Maybe today we'll not discuss this thing, but just think in this way, one hot encoding will be needing just to convert these categorical variables which has the name inside of it into some sort of number. Suppose owner has 013, like that we will just convert this thing. So in this case, you can directly write this code for any data set. Just give the data set name over here, because the data set name is like the variable name, and then just give the drop first true. Why we need to drop this thing, why it is called a dummy variable, and this thing, for the time being you don't need to understand
Okay.
right now.
Jonah,
Yes,
that means we, in that case, we don't need to uh, play with the individual variables or individual column, right?
no,
Just
no,
we
no.
need to write
Yes.
this code, only one
Eh,
code.
yeah.
Is, how easy it is. See, being the
Yeah.
students, you see how easy your life is. Okay, you know. What when I was a student, okay, what we usually we do? We manually assign these by one, these by two, these by three. Okay.
Yes.
Akubir, see when Akubir work few days with me. At the time, what we did, we manually assign, okay, the values. See this, Akubir, you can do more smartly, okay. Just you can assign you can write only one line, and then the whole, okay, you can see the whole effects, okay, on the effect on the whole data set, okay.
Okay.
Wow. Okay, please continue.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, yes, professor. So now if we just print out the data set, you see directly the fuel type, digital type, it came 0, 1, 1, 1, 0. So it actually converted. So now actually from these table, now it is very much clear to us which is categorical, which is non-categorical, right? So previously we just went through the explanation, we told lot of things, but now actually after those explanations, after those explanatory analysis, we came to a conclusion like, okay, these are the categorical features and these are the non-categorical features. So sort of first part of pre-processing is done. Now, as you remember, into our first session, our professor asked like what you guys understood. Sorry, I forget the person name. He explained it very nicely.
Akubir.
Akupir, yes, professor. So he explained it very nicely that which facial features you need to take, right? So he actually mentioned one very important thing. Eyes are very unique, so we need to take consider eyes. Okay, we do not need to consider the nose or mouth. Not all the things are always important. So that means, okay, we should take only those features. When we do the feature selection, those features are most significant. Okay, those features are most significant. Those things we need to only take. Okay, just wait a moment, let me see one thing. Yes, okay, okay, yes. Now one thing here I will tell you, this is a little secret I will tell you, okay? It's sort of secret. Why I'm telling it secret, I will tell you. Suppose I have a left hand and I have a right hand, everybody has, okay? Now, if someone came and say, okay, from a human, take hand as a feature, okay? And one person, okay, said, okay, hand, which hand I have to take as a feature, okay? They put, okay, two features, left hand and right hand, okay? Now, and also their eyes are their left eyes, right eyes, maybe they put like that way. Now we try to see the correlation values. So what is correlation values? Do not need to think about mathematically right now, just think very intuitively at this moment. That is, correlation value is nothing but how much similarity between two things has. Suppose your hand and your eye will not have any similarity, right? These are two different things. But your left hand and your right hand will have similarity. So that means if my left hand right hand is there, that means they have similarity, then the value will be high always, okay? Some value will get some by analysis, okay? But if my hand and I consider, then the value will be low, okay? So always we should consider those values which are not highly correlated. We will do correlation analysis. Why? To understand which two values are correlated highly, okay? And then we'll remove them. Suppose when we analyze the two hands, two eyes, all the things are all together. That means I see eye and hand are not that much correlated, but left hand and right hand is correlated, okay? So I will remove left hand, I will remove left eye, I will keep one eye and one hand. Why? Because eye and hand are distinct, their correlation value are very less. Why I told this thing a tricky one? Because when I do my research, a lot of students come to the laboratory, other labs. Yeah, sometimes these research papers get published, but fundamentally, this research paper, if somebody tells or the project they do, they claim, okay, very novel approach, very good approach, but this is fundamentally wrong. When you practically implement something rather than your direct project, maybe you did this project by yourself where you keep the highly correlated value because you want to think in this way. Left hand is important, that means right hand is also important because both are hands. Okay, so that means it will give us the signifies the value. I think everybody watch here more or less football, right? They know football game, right? Soccer, everybody knows. Yeah, I think, yeah, Korea also they know. So suppose you think you know two players, best players into the world. One is Messi, one is Cristiano Ronaldo. These two are the very famous one. Now just think in this way: if one team you keep Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi into one team, right? So how will you tell like, okay, this team will do the best? Because if you want to keep both of them, no, you do not need to keep both of them, just keep one of them. Because any of them is capable to do anything, right? So think in this way. So always keep the most important one, which is has the values, and keep all those people or all those feature values which has.
Jonathan,
Yes,
we have
professor.
15 minutes left.
Yeah, sure. Professor, I am about to finish it, no problem. So we are calculating the correlation values first, okay? So as I told, you see, with selling price, the present price, you see, these two are very much correlated, these two features. But the kilometers driven is not that much correlated. So this is a tabular form. These are the values. But instead of going to the tabular form, I will show you as some of the uh, uh, graphical values, okay? So with the graphical values, we can easily see. So this means like this one 0.88, these two are highly correlated, but with this one is not that much correlated. So this so row wise and column wise, we can see the relationship with each other. So this is how we calculate the correlation. So the purpose of correlation is to understand one thing is how one feature is correlated to other, and another thing is we want to see how the feature values we should pick up. So that is one point. Another point, this correlation we can analyze, we can visualize in a lot of way. There are other libraries called Seaborn. If you install this library Seaborn, then you can see like they can also visualize the correlation matrix in a very fancier way. Okay, so maybe my computer has not that much space on the background CPU, so this diagram did not load it. Anyways, we can leave it out, no problem. So one thing we can represent it as a tabular format. Yeah, it is loaded. Another thing, we can representative as a pair grid format. So I will not discuss the pair grid thing today, but this is a way just to tell you that into the code this thing is there. But very popular technique which most of the people use, that is with the matplotlib library, that is this one, this correlation matrix they use in that way. Okay, so uh, we are now want to see the finally the data set. We did the correlation there, and also now the thing is, as we already told, we want to predict the price. So here actually I showed the correlation, but we did not do anything with the correlated features and this thing. Just for sake of telling the data analysis, I introduced this thing here, but you don't need to do this thing for this particular case. But if you go to Kaggle, which link I provided previously, there people did something with the correlation, so I just introduced that part to you. So later on part for analysis, if you want to tweak the feature, if you want to introduce some new feature, you can do this thing. Okay, now For final analysis case, I will go. So our goal was price prediction, right? So selling price prediction we need to do. So selling price column is 0. So always the prediction variable, the variable will predict, that means y, and x means the thing we'll use for our training purpose. Okay, so here easily we can see the column number 0 will consider as our output variable or the prediction variable, and other columns from 1 to end will consider as our training variable. So based on those data information, our data will give us some price. Maybe I will give input to this information to our algorithm, and then they will tell me, okay, the price is this, the price is that, the price is this, price is that, like that way. So as it is not classifying but telling us how much will be the price, how much this quantity it is telling us, so that means it is a prediction analysis. Okay, so car price prediction. Similarly, forecasting means, suppose today the temperature is 13 degree, so tomorrow how much it will be, so that is not price, that is they are forecasting the future of this thing. Here also prediction is sort of forecasting. Forecasting means telling you the future. So here into the x variable I am keeping those data from column 1 to end, and for prediction I will keep this column, so y and x. Okay, now I want to see the x. As I told, same, those instead of selling price everything is here. Again we verified it, and then we want to see like how in the y column how they organized it, so it's the selling price. Now we'll do the feature importance. So previously I introduced you guys the correlation based feature importance there. So I did not use correlation based feature importance here, but I introduced that method over here just to give you a little bit of idea. And also uh, the main goal, as I already told, was to give you an overall idea how you can do the feature importance and feature analysis, explanatory analysis, why it is important. So another type of feature importance based method, we can tell this is called tree based method. Okay, so tree based method, uh, uh, I think you guys are from IT background, so you know about decision tree. Most of the students maybe. If you don't know, that is also fine. Just you can write the code and it will happen. But try to understand this thing, how this thing works. So by decision tree also, extra trees regressor, we can do the feature importance as well. So if we run this model, we can understand the importance of different features. Different features mean these feature value we took as X, right? Already. So now the point is, maybe anybody can tell, okay, Hassan, I do not want to give all this information, because why you keep this much information? Maybe one or two might be very important. Those two I need to keep and then remove other one. Yes, you are definitely right. For that case, either you can go with the correlation based analysis, or you can go with the ranking based analysis. So ranking means they will tell you like which feature is the most important, then which, like this they will give rank first, second, third, like that way. So to do that thing, extraterritorial regressor is a way to do. So if we plot this extraterritorial regressor based analysis, here we can see, you saw, like number of year, transmission manual, seller type individuals. Okay, and they actually gave a bar chart of which feature is the most important one. From this chart we can easily see this thing. Anyways, we did not remove anything, we did not discard anything, we kept all the thing as it is, just to show this way they will come, and then you guys can try to remove some features, keep some features based on your analysis, check the evolution.
That means present price is the most dominant feature, am I right?
Yes, yes, professor.
Okay. So now part come in the feature selection. These are the features, input features.
Yeah.
So we can see the most, which one is the most dominant, and then which one is the next, and which one is the least dominant.
Yes.
So
Yes.
now we already have the
Yes.
detailed information about the features, and then we can filter out the features if
Yes.
we want. Okay.
I
During the
wanted to
Yes.
ask you a question.
Yes.
yes,
Like,
Sure. Sure.
so we didn't delete anything, even though like there are like we have a like a the main important like of them, right? We didn't like delete any
Yes.
like columns. So
Yes.
does it affect the accuracy? Like because we have more value to like to train with. So will it make
Yes.
accuracy more?
Yeah, yes, yes, yes. It will affect your accuracy. You are right. Because if we don't remove sometimes, okay, it will affect the accuracy. Sometimes the accuracy will be low. Why I did not remove? Because I want you guys to try with different things. Because sometimes you will see if you go with the correlation based feature selection, okay. So you maybe with that method, they will tell you like, okay, these feature are very important, but with decision tree based method, they will tell you, okay, present price is very important, fuel type diesel is very important. So the chart you are watching here, okay, for different method will tell you different thing. Suppose the example I gave you, some people will like cheese ramen, some people will like cheese pizza, some people will like beef pizza, some people will like shrimp pizza. So that is people's preference. So algorithm has also preference, but based on mathematics, they have logic behind it. Okay, so what you guys have to do, you guys can eliminate some features and check the classification prediction accuracy. Okay, you guys can try different methods. I introduced two methods. One is extra tree regressor, another one is correlation based method. And why I introduced these two methods are very popular into the very popular. Every data analyst actually use these methods. There are a lot other methods, but honestly into the industry if you work, because I have some experience little bit to work into the industry as well for data as a data scientist. So there I saw those methods people don't use that much. These ones they usually use. Okay, so yeah, you are right, Akovid. Like if we remove the features, sometimes the importance become most accuracy increases or prediction accuracy increases. And if it increases, that's your contribution, that's the thing you put into your project, like okay, because we remove this one, this ones is now very good. Okay, so that is your contribution.
okay.
Now we will go for the directly prediction. So we are very end to the thing. So as you know, for prediction thing, we need to do two things. Usually for machine learning algorithm, that is split the data set into training and testing. So here we kept 20% data for testing, 80% for training, and here it is. So let us check the training data. Okay, 240 data we are using for training and rest other for testing. And as we are predicting something, right? So we are forecasting something. I am using here a random forest regressor. I did not go with the linear regression or anything, because here already I introduced the decision tree, tree based feature selector. So I thought of like, okay, let's use some tree based regressor analysis. I also will not go deeper into this model architecture, but what it does, any type of regressor, when you listen the term regressor into the internet or anywhere, just think this can predict something. Okay,
Predictor. Predict.
predictor.
Yes.
Suppose you listen the name of SVM. SVM means support vector machine. Itself can uh, 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 classify the algorithms, okay, data or the values, anything. But if somebody tell SVM regressor, that means this SVM is doing what? This SVM is predicting something. Okay, so yes. So this model we ran, and then the example I gave you that time, like training or hyperparameters, right? Here you saw these estimators we gave, start, stop, this thing, and it is giving us some value. But now the point is, result comes okay, but if you run the program 10, 20, 30 times like this way, sometimes what happen, maybe you tell it to take 240 data, right? But which 240, you know, which 240? We don't know which 240 we tell it. Every time if you give him first 240 data and last 280 data for testing, maybe it will perform okay. But if we shuffle the data, shuffle means like, okay, now don't take the first 240, take the other 240 data, remove, like this way you do this, shuffle it. So when you shuffle it, that means you are justifying your result, you are justifying your whole data set every time, okay? Like maybe one day okay, other example, just leave it, just think in this way, you need to shuffle the data set. While shuffling the data set, one thing will be very better, that is the model will be very robust. That means you will be ensured one thing, not only with your these 240 data set the model performs good, but also your all the data set the model performs good, right? So that's why we need to use this randomized CV search. But I think okay, this part for now you can mute as well, don't, no need to understand this thing right now. uh, just till this part I think okay, for predictor value. And at the end of the prediction we can do one thing, we okay, but just other thing maybe another day we can discuss, this is little bit advanced I went. But so far till this part, is everything clear to you guys, like till this block 33 for the regressor, everybody understood till this part?
Yes.
Okay, then the end. But this part, just one suggestion is just try to play with it and
What is the output? We want to see the output. Okay, can you show us
uh,
the output?
yeah, sure.
Just go to
Yes,
the classifier. Okay,
yes,
you
yes, yes,
train and then test. Okay, then what are the
yes,
result?
yes, professor. Just wait a moment, please. Yeah, 45. Yes, okay. Yeah, we are running this thing.
So price is the output. Okay, it's expected output. Am I right?
Yes, yes, yes,
And
professor.
all other column or attributes are the features. Okay,
Yeah,
input features for training.
yeah,
So what we did, we can generate the new features from the given features of the data set. Look like the, for example, what you did, you calculate the number of year, okay, used, okay, use that card.
yeah,
So in that way, we can generate the new features, okay, for training and testing, okay.
yeah.
So yeah,
Yes,
hello guys.
professor.
If you have any question, you may ask. Okay.
Uh, and this is the prediction values,
Mhm.
professor. And after that, we plotted this scatter plot of the predictions here, like that you see a linear trend. That means the price is hiking and rising that price, and it is matching. Sorry, I did not put two colors, but
Nice.
it will
Okay.
be better. Yeah. So yeah, like that way you guys can plot it.
Okay.
So I will try to modify the code and update into that link, so you can later on
Mm.
check from there.
So uh, if you have any question, you may ask. Okay. Relevant to this or other is also okay. Please ask.
So basically, if we want to make prediction for other data set, we need to follow these steps, right?
Yeah, usually like if you go for other data set, you can follow this step as well. It is a sort of very common step, you may say, but try to practice this thing. Somebody maybe don't follow this whole step. Suppose I have another project here, flight fare prediction. Okay, into the GitHub link I provided over to you there. So here also a prediction project. Okay, flight fare prediction. So here also I tried to follow the very similar steps overall. So you guys can follow these steps as well. Yeah, here, yeah, very same step we followed here. EDA. This is a very big data set. So this one has vast analysis. So if you can, I believe, finish this project by yourself, then good. Self-learning is very good. Yeah.
Mm.
Thank
Okay.
you.
You're welcome.
So any more question? Jalul, Nazir, other guys, you don't have any question? So
No questions.
okay.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so there are actually, there are in the classifier, okay? There are what we have learned. There are two type of uh, tools. Okay, we can use. One is the regressor, another is the one what you and another is for the classifier. Okay, so regressor is used for predicting. Okay, predicting anything. All right, you know it.
Yes, yes,
And
Professor.
then classifier, all classifier are used for the classification. Okay. So for
Yes,
example, what he said, support vector machine, SBM is the classifier, SBR, support vector regressor is the classifier. Okay. So similarly, you can, if you want to do the research in this field, what you need to do? First task is you need to specify the area, and then what? You need to proceed all the steps, data cleaning, and then feature extraction, dominant feature selection, and then you need to
Hmm.
use the regressor or
Yeah.
classifier. Okay, all
Yes.
right.
Yes. Yes, Professor.
So there are nowadays the life become very easy for you because you can see the all the available codes are available in the different GitHub. So first you can start just running the available code. Everything is given, right? You know
Yes.
it?
Yes. Yes,
Data set,
Professor. Yeah.
code, instructions, everything given. Just you need to run two or three models, and later on you can build your own model. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think life will be very easy. Okay. And without doing research, one thing I want to share, the difference between the university and college is like this. Okay, what the juniors share, we run it. Okay, that is the end. Okay, so yeah, then you can easily pass the college. But university, if you want to really be a university student, that is not sufficient. Okay, you need to do some creative work. So to do the creative work, what you need to do, you need to study the existing work. There is called the literature review. And when you will understand the existing work, I'm sure that you will have the capacity to work, okay, in the new field, okay. So again, supervisor is very important. Always, as you are very new in this field, you need to select, okay, one supervisor. Even though that is not the in related to the any course. Always think about the university always assigning forcefully a mentor for you. That is not the mentor, okay. Mentoring and supervision is the different. Okay? So I wish that you will let us with the some professor, one or two professor with your interest, and then try to kill their time. Okay. So at the end, you will be happy. Okay. When the all the professor want to see your bright future. Okay. So what you are doing in Woosong, for example, you are paying the high tuition. Okay. But you think about even if you want to do the masters and PhD with the self fund, life will be very difficult. But there are so many schools all over the world. Even though in Woosong, you may find the full scholarship. Okay, if you have this kind of creativity. So thank you all again, and thank you, Junaid, especially to
Thank you,
you.
Professor.
It's a long time. Yeah, 3 hours talk is so difficult. So hello, guys. Do you want to say something?
Me?
No, no, no.
Yeah.
Students.
Okay.
Yeah, I have question, last question.
Yeah, sure. Sure.
So, what do you think uh, you learned more from online? I mean, self-learning or from university? Which one you learned more?
My guess. Okay. My guess. Uh, for data science, self-learning was the first key factor, but university is important. Why? As professor told, because one thing, in the world, lot of people are doing data science project. everywhere in the internet. If you search, data science projects are there. So maybe you can build some website with data science. You can make the food reviews website, or you can make Amazon which product is very best. Directly you take those data and you can make the system. But you know what? Nobody will care about those projects. Okay, instead of that thing, if you do a very simple thing, okay, how many people will die in next few days for COVID virus? This is very important but very easy. This code you need to do only, I mean, with the Jupyter notebook like this way you can do that code, right? But the important thing is how much your analysis will impact the world. So to do that thing, you need a very good supervisor, very good guidance, and this thing university will definitely help. So learn from online, practice from online, use those knowledge, but apply those knowledge into university for your project to attract some professors. That is the most important thing.
And you need to claim. You need to claim that, okay, this is my contribution. Okay, I did this job. If you did, and then okay, store in the GitHub, that is not the end. Okay? What you need to at the same time, you need to do some research work. You need to at least as a student, you need to participate in the conference. Okay, so that will be the you. Okay, for example, even this small contribution, when you publish anything in a conference, for example, the publisher will preserve your paper for forever. Can you imagine? Professor paper and your paper same, okay, will be in the same database. Okay? So that will be the different satisfaction. So I wish that you will be motivated, highly motivated, and make plan accordingly in that way. And Junai, this is the second year in the technology, so they will realize more. Okay, they will realize and they will learn the reality. Okay, I hope that they will keep in touch with all professors. Okay, there are fantastic professor in Woosong. And from the different country. Okay, I'm sure that I already met with them almost all of them. They are really love their students. Okay, they love to work with their students. So I'm wishing that they have a bright future. Okay, so thank you, Junayat. Okay,
Thank
thank
you,
you, everyone.
professor. Thank you, everyone.
See
Thank
you
you
in
very
the
much
Thank you,
class.
Thank you very much.
Professor.
for your time.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Thank you.
Okay,
Can
thank
you
you.
For your
share
time.
your social media contacts?
Yeah, sure, no problem. Social media contents means you want.
Facebook or LinkedIn?
Can
Yeah,
you
sure, sure,
can you
sure.
share your
Yeah,
profile?
yeah,
That is very helpful guy and active. Okay, so
no
he loves
problem. I will
one.
share. Just wait a moment and let me.
Okay, hello guys. See you in the next class. Okay, and just
Thank you, professor.
Okay,
And
thank
I
you.
am sharing into the chat, right?
yeah, chat. Share your
Yeah,
profile.
yeah. That is my Facebook. You guys can reach me over there. And if you have any question, sometimes I cannot reply through the messenger. So please email me. I already gave my email address, but again, if you need so.
And very soon he will be completed. Okay, his PhD, inshallah. Okay. Okay. Good luck
Please
for
pray for me.
and have a nice day. Okay. Thank
Okay,
you.
have a nice day. Thank you. See you all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hello,
You.
students. See you
Thank
in the
you.
next
you.
class. Okay.
Yeah, thank
Thank you. Have a good day.
you.